Hello there, very warm welcome to the Voice of Boxing, another fantastic podcast ahead for you in association with the streaming platform for creators, Loungers TV. Ollie Paterson is here today. Ollie is a firefighter. He's also a coach. He's also a professional fighter who is 11-0. You may not have heard about him, but you're going to hear a lot more about him on the Voice of Boxing. Ollie, welcome along. Ollie Paterson from these parts, from North London, from around here. And you're a fireman, I think by day and by night. Yes. You're a boxer through and through. And you've got this great story because we love grassroots, we love communities, we love people that do good in boxing, as well as the big names. You hear about some really great stuff that goes on around the country, the grassroots, length and breadth of the UK. So it's great having you here with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's really nice to see you. And it started for you at a young age, boxing, didn't it?
It did, yeah. I started to interest into boxing at 8. It was my dad was a big Hagler fan, and he boxed himself, only amateur.
Did he?
Finchley, yeah, Finchley Boxing Club.
Finchley ABC,
yeah,
famous club.
Yeah, and he was trained by Spencer Oliver's dad, Jimmy. So I used to say to him, "Can I start boxing?" And he said, "Well, you're a bit young at the moment to go down the club," because at the time it was 10. I think it still is. And so he just said, "I'll teach you the basics at home." So he started doing the basics, and he could tell that I was actually keen for it. At first, he thought maybe it's just a phase. But yeah, and then my earliest memory of boxing is definitely the Hagler Hearns fight. And because I was always been quite tall and slim for my age, just looking at Hearns, he's what sort of like drove me into boxing, I suppose.
That's music to my ears. Tommy Hearns was absolutely my hero as well. Yeah. I cried when he lost to Hagler that night. An amazing fight, one of the great fights in history, really. And no wonder it inspired you as a young kid. Your dad, an amateur, but didn't take it any further?
He didn't take it any further. No, he did a lot of martial arts as well as boxing.
Right.
So that he's always had sort of that background. Preferred to do like boxing, martial arts, and golf is his. So yeah, it's,
slightly easier way.
Yeah, golf is.
Yeah, absolutely, golf. But you got the bug, did you, very early on?
I did, yeah. And then I sort of remembered him saying to me, "You'll have to be 10." And I remember coming into him and saying, "I'm 10 now, can I go?" And yeah,
on your 10th birthday.
Yeah, we're near enough, I suppose. Yeah, I remember just coming in saying, "Can I go boxing?" And he took me down to Finchley. And he sort of, at the time...
who was there at the time?
So you had both Jimmy and Johnny Oliver sort of running it. Colin Webster was there. And then Sean Murphy just started, sort of like, because Danny, his son, had started boxing for the club. At the time, when I first started, there was a coach, Gary Foley, who actually was one of my friends, Jake's dad at the time. Mm-hmm. He wasn't coaching when I first started, but then he started and he ended up being my main amateur coach, him and my dad. So... yes, they were.
Where was Spencer? Where was Derek Chisora? Where were people like that at the time?
Chisora was like sort of the senior. So he was, as I was a junior, he was sort of like 15, 16, and then going into the seniors. As I sort of suppose 10, 11, 12. I remember like going on Sunday runs and Chisora being there. So yeah, it was him. There was Joe Smythe, who was a really good fighter. Really good
fighter.
Yeah, he was there.
What was Del Boy like back in those days?
He was a good laugh. I mean, for us as juniors, it was good to see. Like, he was like probably the only main heavyweight at the gym at that time. So obviously, heavyweights, you're naturally drawn to watching them and stuff, and they get a lot of attention.
What weight were you at the time?
Oh, I was small. My first bout was probably at like 57 kilos, something like that. And then I went into soon, because I was tall, I just started going up the weights quite quick. I settled at about 75, and then finally 81 as an amateur. But yeah, there was Joe Smythe. There's Ashley Sexton was there for a little bit, and then he went to Haringey.
AJ walk in at some point?
Yeah, AJ. I remember the day AJ walked in. Actually, he walked in, and he was friends with my mate Sam. They had doing a bricklaying course at at Barnet College. So he sort of introduced me, and we become friends like during the amateur days. He was like one of the main fighters at the time. We had a really good squad actually. We went to Vegas twice. So
did you think Joshua would go on to do what they've done?
Joshua, yes. Chisora, no. I thought Chisora would do well. I thought maybe British level. I think he surprised everyone because, like, at times in the amateurs, he sort of like, maybe would miss a couple of runs and this, that, and the other, and you'd have thought like he's good enough to make it to the British level, but will he take it further than that? I think he surprised everyone in a way, like what he actually has done.
And Josh, who came in late, was 18 or something at the time, and then he was moved really quickly, and obviously had that short amateur career, but ended with the Olympic gold medal.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, I thought Josh would do well. To say, do you think he would have been an Olympic gold medalist and 2-time like heavyweight champion of the world? Is was a stretch, but I think he's done really well. I thought Josh, because of the way he worked, he absorbed that information from people, and he was obsessed by getting better. I just knew that he would do well.
You're still close to him?
We speak on WhatsApps and stuff, like WhatsApp groups. So we got a Finchley Boxing Club WhatsApp group. So
I think Spencer's in there,
haven't
isn't
seen
he?
for a while. Yeah, Spencer's in there. Yeah. I haven't seen Josh for a while though, but we'd still be like, it'd be nice to catch up at some point.
Do you think you should fight Dubois next in the rematch?
It's a hard one, isn't it, really, because as Matt was saying, he's done so much for boxing. He's done so much for himself. Does he really need the fight? It financially, probably no, definitely not. But as a legacy thing, he might want to take it. And I don't know if he'd want to finish on that note. That's the one thing. As a fighter, I think you always want to finish at least with a win. So potentially, I think he'll do that. I think in that fight as well, he come out a little bit slow, and I think Dubois caught him off guard. Dubois come out straight away on that double jab, and he was up for it straight away. I think Josh then got caught, and after that he just couldn't settle into the fight. But we'll see. Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? I'm sure his pride will want him to go straight back in with Dubois. Maybe he should wait for the result of Usyk and Fury, and also to see what Turkey wants to do. So it's not awful decisions with the money he's made, and but he's had a great career, of course, a fantastic career, and iconic for British boxing, and transcended it in many ways. The stadium shows and the love of the sport, and I guess people for you to look up to, the likes of Josh and what Chisora sort of ground out over his career, and and Spencer, what he did for his short one as well.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, even like Darren Barker had a little spell at Finchley when he was a junior as well. So there's been a lot of people that have. I mean, and Darren's from Barnet as well.
Yeah.
So I remember growing up and watching Darren on like Channel 5. And like just seeing it coming up Barnet, and you think, I would like to be in that position. Do you know what I mean? One day.
So how did it go for you through those early years as a fighter?
So I took to boxing well. I won my first 8 amateur fights, and things were going really well. And I was playing football a lot as well. So I loved football and I loved boxing at the same time. But
were you playing a high level of football?
No, I wouldn't say high level, but I enjoyed playing football, and like I suppose like most young people, you maybe dream of becoming a professional footballer.
Yeah.
And I was doing both, and at one point, I think I was 15, 16, and I'd had my first loss, and I remember Jimmy Oliver saying to me, "It's hard to do both." And my dad had always said that to me anyway, but I think it had to come from someone else, because when it's your dad telling you, sometimes you're a little bit like stubborn to it. But so then, I stopped playing football. I'd also picked up quite a few injuries from football, like knee injuries and stuff, and that was like stopping me training boxing. Just then naturally fell into boxing, and sort of knuckled down a bit with it. I done well. I wouldn't say I fulfilled my potential in the amateur game. I made like NABC semi-finals, won a couple like London divs, boxed some really good kids. Like made the Haringey Cup, box cup. I won that twice, and made a final against Chevron Clark with one of the fights as well. So I boxed some good names in the amateurs. But
who's the best you fought?
So I had 2 fights with Dan Aziz, and they were both tough fights. I won one and lost one, but I'd say Siobhan Clark was probably my hardest opponent.
Yeah.
Because he was quite big for the weight, so we both boxed at light heavyweight.
Yeah.
And I remember him. We'd had 3 fights that tournament, and he stopped the 2 before me. So yeah, I think everyone thought potentially I was going to get stopped by him. But I lost on split decision in the end.
Because he's big and went up the cruiserweight as a pro.
Yeah. And I boxed all right. I didn't do too bad. He definitely won the fight, but I think I surprised a few people with like getting a split. So
what was your amateur record at the end of it? How many did you have?
So I had like 70 odd fights.
70,
I didn't lose many. I maybe lost like 11, 12
Yeah.
bouts. So yeah.
So a good career.
Yeah.
And one that you thought, like, I want to be a pro now, or was there another sort of route? Was it always boxing?
It was just sort of like felt natural to me. Yeah. Like I was never very academic at school and stuff. So it was always something to do with sport. I loved sport. I loved fitness. I loved training. So I just wanted to follow that. And, boxing, turning pro was just natural for progression, I suppose. I looked, to be fair, the first person I spoke to, they normally say, don't do it. Don't sign with the first person you speak to. But I spoke to Steve Goodwin, and I just got a really good vibe from him. He just seemed like a really good, honest, down-to-earth guy. And yeah, I just sort of like left that interview with him, and I said to my dad, I think that's who I want to sign with. So, but it was daunting going into the pros because we'd gone from the amateurs.
What year was this?
2015. This was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So 9 years ago now.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it was daunting. I think because we didn't know anyone in the pro game. Like literally gone from the amateur game where you've got club mates, you've got all the coaches, you've got the facility. And then we didn't have anything from that. It's
surprising, right? You had 70 amateur fights, very good club like Finchley, only a handful of losses. You're mixing in good company. That there's not more people sort of knocking at the door saying, come on, we'll show you how the professional route works. Because I guess, having been at Sky for so long, we see the creme de la creme, and we get the best promoters, and they get their pick of the Olympians or the ABA champions or whoever it is. But actually, there's a huge amount of fighters who don't have that sort of a platform, I guess, to go with, and it's tough, right? It's hard.
Yeah, it is. I think I was a bit naive to it at first, but in a way, that was a good thing, I think, because maybe if you know the ins and outs of boxing, you maybe wouldn't go into it at first, the pro game. You'd like be trying to sign with a TV deal or a big name promoter. But when I signed them, then I realised you got to sell tickets. That's when I thought, well, I don't know hundreds of people, and I'm not in the pubs every weekend to like build this social like network, but
because you've got to be able to sell tickets, and you've got to have a few things, haven't you, in your arsenal?
100%, yeah, definitely. But I remember that signing pro, and once I'd signed pro, I must have emailed about 300 companies locally as well, saying, "Do you want to sponsor me?" And I finally got Alliance Scaffolding, Intelligent Scaffolding. They reached back to me and said, "Yeah, we're up for sponsoring you." So that was massive for me to get a sponsor.
Yes.
It really helped. And then I had another couple like come on, Oliver and Akers and people like that. And it really did take a little bit of stress off the sort of, because then I could maybe potentially use some of that money for tickets, like to make sure that I was definitely going to get about. But yeah, I done all right with tickets. I wouldn't say I'm a massive ticket seller, but I can sell 80 to 100 tickets. And
so when you turned over 2015, was the idea to have as many fights as you could, see how far you went? Was there other work on the side? What was life like then?
So when I first turned over, I was glazing, and it wasn't something that I wanted to do. It's just something that sort of like a stopgap to earn some money.
And it's difficult balancing that. I mean, I work with Shaquille Thompson at GBM, and he's still doing a 9-to-5 job, even though he's an unbeaten middleweight, knocking on the door for major titles now. And it's really hard if you're trying to focus. Professional boxing is tough enough, and you've got to have a job as well to pay the bills.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the thing. It was like it was a 9-to-5. I was going running in the mornings or go to the gym and do my strength work, and then I'd work and come back to my dad's in Finchley, And we were just training in the back garden at first, and like even
I read that. So you literally you made something happen there. You didn't have the facility, so you just got on with it at home.
Yeah, we just thought, well, we can go out and get as best sparring as we can. We can do like, I can still do my shadow boxing. We put up a bag. We'd put up a floor to ceiling ball, speed bag. My dad would do pads with me. Done all the footwork, defense drills and stuff like that. And then we'd go everywhere we could to spar. I used to sometimes go down Portsmouth. Do you remember Tony Oakey?
I remember him very well.
So I used to do a bit of sparring with him, and that was really good for me, because
great guy.
Yeah, he's
Gave
great
us
guy.
many good nights on
That's
Sky.
Exactly, and he was giving me great advice as a young fighter, sort of thing coming through. And then I started working for a construction company. It was a glazing / construction company, and I sort of like, they said to me I could take any of the excess materials that weren't getting used. And I took them, and we built a little like gym, probably the size of the studio.
Really?
Yeah, had a bag in there, had all the mirrors. And then we started training a few
Built
people.
your own gym. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and it was wicked. I mean, people would come down and do pads with my dad and me. And
where was this? Near here?
In North Finchley.
North Finchley.
Yeah, North Finchley at my mum and dad's, basically their back garden. My mum weren't too happy, but
I'm sure she wasn't.
No, but she knew it was for a good purpose. And
did she want you to fight, or was she always a bit of?
She's come to two fights. She's come to one amateur fight and one pro fight. She didn't like it. And to be fair, I sort of like was happy for her just to see one of each and then like stay at home, because I knew she was stressed, and that it's better for me that.
It's an area that's always fascinated me, the mums of fighters. Some want to be at that ringside banging on the canvas, and the others want to be hiding behind the sofas at home and never watching it.
No.
We had Darren Barker actually in here, and I remember his mum would sort of walk around the outside of the the arenas and just not want to see any of it, and just want that phone call. And it's tough for mums.
It is, yeah. But I can see now as well, like, because actually when I started training amateurs, it was a different feeling to like fighting myself. I'd never felt nerves like it, because actually now I feel like I'm responsible for this young fighter, and you don't want them to get hurt, you don't want them to be getting stopped, and you're just thinking, have I matched? Because I was new to the amateur game. It was like I was matchmaking the boxers as well, and you're thinking, have I overmatched them? Are they at the right weight? So yeah, I think like for me, if like my brother or any of my boxers are fighting or anything like that, it's worse.
So what happened? You turned pro.
Yeah.
You've been a pro 9 years.
Yeah.
You've only had 11 fights?
11, yeah.
Okay, so why is that, and what's happened in the meantime? I know you're a fireman. I know you've got this big community of young kids.
Yeah.
So sort of how did it manifest? Was it because you weren't getting fights, because it wasn't progressing, I guess, your journey in the right way?
So what happened is I was boxing, and that was my sole focus, and I had the gym in the back garden.
At the beginning?
Yeah, the back garden. And then I was like, started training a few people in the garden, and one of the guys that was there was like, it'd be great if you had your own gym. I was like, well, that's a dream. That would be amazing. So I thought, like, let's try and make it happen. So we did. Found a unit in Barnet, got like all the essential equipment that we needed, and sort of just grew it from there. But again, going into business, my first business, I was naive, just thought it'd be plain sailing. People just start walking in the door, and like I didn't know how to like sell or market or advertise. And then that started taking a lot of my time. So then boxing sort of like, I thought, well, let me just get this straight, and then I can like, again, I still training, but I wasn't able to fight properly at that point. And then I got it sort of settled, and I had a fight, and then literally I boxed Luke Blackledge, and that was probably my best win as a pro, because he was experienced, and he said to me, look, like people probably see me now as a gatekeeper or journeyman, but he said, I come tonight to win against you, and fair play, you outboxed me and beat me, and so that was good for me. That was I was ready to like just get onto the next fight and then build myself from there. And then COVID happened, and then the gym shut because we weren't allowed to have like the gym open. And I was like, well, at the time I'd had one kid already, and my other little girl was on the way, and I was running out of money, didn't have any sort of money coming in.
Absolutely.
So I looked
really tough that.
It was tough, yeah, because obviously the dream and my passion, it was in the gym and it was in boxing and fitness. And then I was like, suddenly I felt it was like falling away a little bit, but I didn't want to just like give up on it. So I thought, right, let me find something part-time for now. Just keep any money I can get from the gym into paying rent and stuff like that. And I looked, and the fire service were like recruiting. So I applied and just, went through all the tests. And at first I didn't think I'd got in because there was such a long wait and there was loads of people applying. But luckily I managed to get in. And
how's that been?
Yeah, it's good. It was fun. It's a learning experience. And I felt...
You still involved?
I am, yeah. I'm still full-time firefighter as well. There was a stage when I first started there. I massively don't know why. I just lost confidence in everything in terms of my boxing. And it was quite a hard like time, I suppose, because I wanted to progress with my boxing and I wanted to progress with the gym, but I obviously went into this new venture in the fire service and I had to learn a lot, and it was so new to me. And it massively sort of like dented my confidence and self-belief because I was thinking, I don't know if I'm good enough to do this. But now it's helped me a lot in life. I think having the gym, and now I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm confident in who I am and what I can bring to the table.
Well, you're providing an amazing service out there, and I'm sure it's keeping you very busy and probably put you in some dangerous situations.
Yeah, at times it does, yeah. So you have to be on the ball, you have to be training all the time and retaining that information. But yeah, it's enjoyable. A lot of the time it's enjoyable.
I mean, there's a fitness theme here. There's a health thing. There's keeping yourself going. There's obviously a big dedication in you. What is the passion? So you started with the kids. You I guess help look after them now.
Yep.
You're balancing it with this sort of professional career, which is undefeated, right?
Yes, so far.
You've never lost.
No.
So I mean, still probably one of the few fighters that's had that many fights in Britain, who's unbeaten. But what's the road ahead now? What are you, early 30s?
Yeah, I'm 30. Well, I'm 34, and I know what Matt was saying earlier. I was like, sometimes at 34, do you get any better? But and that's where I feel.
I know a guy near me who wants to turn professional at 34. So it's never too late.
No, and I think it's like being honest with what I like. For me, I feel that I was good enough. Like when I first turned pro, like not at that time, but ability wise, I feel like I'm good enough to win at least the British title. My skill set, my experience in the boxing ring, like who I've been in with, like not just fighting but sparring as well. So for me, I feel if I didn't win a title, then I wouldn't have fulfilled my potential. And also, now I'm training the amateurs and stuff, and I've also got a young pro that's just had his debut not long ago in May.
Who you're managing?
I'm just training him. So Jamie Bradley, he's managed by Steve Goodwin.
Okay.
But I just want to maybe give my young fighters someone to look up to and think, well, look, if he's doing it and if he can still win titles and if he's this busy but he can still push on and do things, then I can do it. And that's what, if I can do that, if I can inspire them to do that, then I'm happy.
Is it all about getting fights? You had COVID breaking it up, obviously, and now how many do you need to make that British title dream come true, do you think?
I suppose it's all on, like, because things can move quickly in boxing, but like I suppose potentially I'd be looking at like coming back, getting a 6-rounder under the belt, then I'd want like potentially like an 8-rounder. And then I think you're in the title mix then. You could like, whether it's a southern area or you jump straight into English. And then I suppose you have to win them fights. They're the big tests. And once you've won sort of like, say, an English title, I suppose you can then knock on the door at a British title. But yeah, maybe between 3 and 6 fights, I suppose, like before you get in a title shot now. It depends. Like I suppose how quickly the promoters want to push you.
How much do you want it?
I want to win the title, yeah, a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's always been, it's basically been the pinnacle of boxing, pro boxing. Whether obviously you always want to win a world title as you turn pro. Everyone says I want to be a world champion, But for me, if I could become a British champion, even an English champion, I think there's something that obviously my kids can be proud of, the amateurs can be proud of, and the members at the gym, hopefully that, it's something that they can be proud of as well. So.
Because your ambition, obviously, on the other side is to make sure the kids are looked after and are developed well, which is in many ways far more important than a sort of, a strap on the mantelpiece or a belt. But I guess you're right to use it as an inspiration to the kids that if you could achieve it with the obstacles that have been put in front of you, then they can too.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel it's like if I can show them, just like, because I always try and say to the amateurs, a lot of the time it's a mindset thing. We all, as fighters, you always train hard. There's a lot of skilled fighters, but have they got it up here? And I try and get that across to them. I try and get them to believe in themselves. And it's easy to say it, but I suppose if they can see me acting on what I'm saying, it's more important. Like, as you say, actions speak louder than words. So I feel if I can do it, and then that can inspire them to do it as well.
What about giving back to the community, to the youngsters? I was very close to Johnny Nelson over the years, and his stable in Sheffield, run by Brendan Ingle, who had everybody into his gym, and it didn't matter sort of almost how good you were, different levels, different backgrounds. Everyone had that same opportunity, and they all grew from that, which was just wonderful to see.
100%. It's great to see the kids developing, not just as like fighters but as people, and that's what originally when they first I started getting a few youngsters coming in, maybe 17, 18, and they start hitting the bags. They were like, oh, can we hit the bags? So I was like, yeah, of course. So they come in, they'll hit the bags and do the shadow boxing, and then I started off by like just tweaking them and that, and then all of a sudden, like, a couple of them said, oh, you're a good teacher, you explain things really well. So then I had the thought of potentially let's maybe push it and open up our own amateur boxing club. At the start, it was just me coaching there, which was hard but at that time when I first started it, I was doing all my training for the fire service, so I could be there every evening. And then I was obviously then had night shifts. It was about like trying to get coaches in, and it's just built really.
It's a hard juggle, isn't it?
It is, but it is rewarding. And I'd say the amateurs have progressed a lot. We're still in the early stages. I said to you before, like, I always had this dream of like creating a Kronk, a UK version of the Kronk, and having like multiple champions, and then eventually progressing them from, because like Finchley was a great club, but once you was an amateur, when you turned pro, you couldn't, at that time you couldn't train there. It was sort of finished. It was just an amateur gym, yeah. So you'd have to move on, and I sort of didn't want that to be the case for my fighters. I thought, like, if you know someone so well, you look at like Canelo, people like that, and Crawford, they've known their coaches since they were like this big, and it's just it's
the trust, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, exactly. And they know you inside out. They know how to get the best out of you, and they'll know you as a person, I think, and that's really important, because sometimes fighters need protecting from themselves a little bit.
How many kids have you got coming through?
We've got quite a lot of carded boxers now. We've got the juniors is growing really well. We've got, like, say, a settled coach. We've got Spencer's brother Danny, Danny Oliver. He's doing the juniors now. So we've got 4 other coaches that are helping him. We've probably got maybe 15 to 20 juniors that are ready to go soon. And then
boys and girls.
Yeah, we've got
good.
We've got a few girls there, which is good, and we seniors as well, which I deal a lot with at the moment. We've got quite a few girls coming through as well. So yeah, it's all going.
Do you go around the schools and try and sort of give back to the area as well, and maybe take some of the fighters in, and because I guess it's inspirational, isn't it, what you've done?
Well, hopes for someone. Yeah, I mean we started. So me and another coach at the gym, Jordan, we started doing a boxing academy in schools. It was a bit of by chance, to be fair. One of the girls I used to go to school with, she messaged me and said, "Oh, would you be interested in doing a session at the school?"
Yeah.
So I said, "Yeah, we'll come down." So we come down, and then it was like all the kids like loved it, doing like something different. And where it was like the teachers were like, "This is this is great having boxing in schools, because people see boxing sometimes in like as violent or anything. And it's not. It's far from that. It's teaching them like work ethic and discipline and respect for each other. We always say to them, like, you don't hit each other. It's like non-contact. If you want to hit each other, you have to come down the boxing club and join the amateurs. And then from that, we started a boxing academy in schools. We've now got like 11 locally, and that's growing. So that's really enjoyable, going into the schools as well.
So Ollie, 34, 11-0. What's 2025 look like for a firefighter and a coach and a professional fighter still?
So 2025 is going to be a massive year in terms of my development as a fighter and as a coach. To say I've got a young pro coming through. He's got another fight 7th of December. It's about growing the amateurs. I think the key is balance, making sure, because obviously you can end up taking on too much, and luckily I have started to grow a team as well, and that's going to be massive. The members are really, really, really supportive, so I've got a much better fan base in place now. So when I do have my next pro fight, I feel like I can do well with the tickets.
Sell a few tickets this time,
yeah. So I'm hoping early 2025. I don't think this. I mean, I stay fit and sharp most of the time, but there's a difference between like fight fitness and just general fitness. I'm always on the bags. I'm always training shadow boxing, pad work, but I haven't sparred for like probably a couple months now. So I don't think this side of Christmas, although it'd be nice to get the ball rolling, ready, because at the moment free agent. So it'd be like nice to get signed with someone and ready for the new year. Just. That's the goals.
It'd be great to come down to the gym, have a look at you.
Welcome anytime.
Instagram? Tell us about it. Where we can follow you. Where we can follow your story.
Yeah. So my Instagram is Ollie Punch Perfect Patterson, and the gym we amateur gyms, Barnet Amateur Boxing Club, and Box Sport London is our actual gym.
And we're welcome down there.
Welcome down anytime. Yeah, located in High Barnet. So anyone that wants to come down, feel free. What
a great story, and I really hope it works well for you. Not just the boxing career and getting that titles or fighting for titles, but developing the kids, because I've got 3 of my own, and I know I've got 3 teenagers in the house, and it's tough. You want them focused on something, you want them sporty, and it's brilliant to have that inspiration. So you're doing a great job out there.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Really good to have you on the Voice of Boxing.
No, thanks for having me. Yeah.
Thanks, Ollie, and follow him. We're going to follow that story, hopefully to a British title and beyond.
Yeah. Cheers, Adam.
And the English Kronk, eh?
That's it. That's what we hope. Yeah.
Voice of Boxing, in association with Loungers TV. Over and out for another episode.